Hi everyone, what we're going to go through in this video is actually just working kind of systematically through the printed guide and showing you actually step-by-step demonstration of how the scalable content process, or the game of clones, works for us at Stanley. So basically you have this printed guide in front of you, and you're probably pretty impressed with how cool I am that I have all these action figures to take photos of. Um, but my rugged sex appeal aside, what we're actually going to dive into is really how to engage with this guide. So the first thing is, obviously if you have no primer on tokens already, here's one for you that you can get a quick understanding of the tokens we use at Stanley. This is by no means a comprehensive list, and even the more descriptive piece later in the guide is definitely not comprehensive, but kind of gets you everything. It tells you everything you need to know. And the one thing that I recommend that you do, tokens always work on a child-parent structure. So if they're at a high level, like if you have a main content folder and all your content programs are subfoldered underneath that, all the tokens that you put on this level are going to trickle down to any of the programs contained in these folders as inherited tokens, and that makes them easy to update. So if you ever want to add a token, uh, you can add it here, and then it'll populate through all of these other landing pages. So if you change the template and add an extra field or something that's tokenized, you can make sure that it pulls through with some kind of default value that you can customize later at each individual program. So again, the answer to anything scalable Marketo is tokens. Second thing is, if you just want to see that kind of in play in a short little video, there's one here you can click. It's very quick. It's like maybe a minute or two, but gives you a quick view of how we've structured our files at Stanley, and gives you some things to chew on in regards to just tokens in general and how to leverage them. But jumping right in, what I'm going to go through is the step-by-step guide. So step one is obviously to create a content program. So for the purposes of this right now, what we're going to assume is that you already have one program, one content program already built out, and we're going to focus on what the steps are when you clone something new. So the first thing to clone it, you obviously click on a program that's existing. You click clone, or you right click on it and then go down to clone, and then you fill out these fields just like you normally would. So it's going to a campaign folder. It's going to be articles, and name it whatever you want to name it. Again, for the purpose of illustration, I've already built this out so we can kind of track along with something I've done, and it'll save you a little bit of time watching this video. But make sure, what I do want to plug right here is whatever naming conventions that you settle on at your company, and if you're a team of one, you get to decide. If you're a team of 5 or 10 or 20 or 100, you need to make sure that everybody's on board and that they make sense, they're easy to understand, and they're enforced. Because what that's going to help you to do is when you get down to the reporting, you're gonna know what a program is just by seeing the name of it in RCE or RCA, whatever you want to call it. But then two, it makes it really easy. It's so clean. Like it's 2016. There's no reason why you should have wildly unstructured naming conventions in anything. So build a little, make order out of chaos and institute some kind of naming convention. That's just a general aside. So once you've named your program, you'll have a new one completely built, and the very next step is actually to review your program tags. So what we're going to do here is, when you're at the program level, if you go up to the Setup tab, all these tabs along the top, very useful. The two you care about, Setup and Tokens. So the first thing we want to do is go to the Setup tab. And then on here, your tags may or may not be different. Actually, they probably are. I'm in a sandbox, as I will probably reference again here in a little while. But what we generally do at Stanley is we have our channel tag. That is very important, because if you have a program that has members, you can't change that tag again. So it's very critical that at this point you make sure that channel tag is set up right. For content, we always use content, so there's not really too much worry of things to screw up there. But as a general caution, it's a huge pain in the butt if you need to go back and change the channel tag of a program that has members. It can be done. There's an article in Marketo Whisperer in the community that my friend Brian Law will really expound upon how to go about doing that. But that's a triage that's totally avoidable. So let's not do that. So just check this tag is right. Make your team check it every time. Review that they've actually done it right, and you'll be okay. Next thing is any other general tags you have. You could have 10 of these or none. But we generally like to organize content by, is it an article, a white paper, a case study, a video, whatever it was. We like to have that type there because it just gives us something extra we can sort by later and measure. Were articles better performing and higher converting than video or white papers? I don't know, but if you don't measure it, you can't find out. So the other thing that we do at Stanley, we have a very vertically structured marketing program. So security is security, but how we talk to a college is different than we talk to a hospital, is different than we talk to a major commercial enterprise. So what we also have here is a vertical tag. And then that enables us to just look at, how are all of our programs working in any of these individual facets of our marketing program, whether it's vertical or not. The whole point there is that by introducing more tags into your programs, you're able to sort and report in more intelligent ways than you could before. The second thing here is just understanding channel tags. Now, for those of you that are Game of Thrones fans, you'll notice I've made some very clever references in the program names and in these pricing period costs. If you didn't, no worries, they're not important. But the thing that is important here is understanding that you can't report on ROI if you don't have some kind of reporting cost added in here, even if it's zero. So let's say you're a generalist marketer that wrote the content, designed it, did everything soup to nuts, and you didn't have any design costs or anything like that, or it was a local event that you held at your office and it was totally free to you. If you don't put even a zero in there, it's not going to show up in RCE. So make sure that even if nothing else, that you put a period cost in there of zero. Generally though, if you're like us, you're going to have a cost of some modest sum of design costs or whatever it was, particularly for content, especially for video. Okay, so the next thing, sorry I keep doing that, is you want to, here's an optional step, but something I like to encourage our team to do is what Marketo does when you clone a program is it makes the landing page link, it appends the program name to the front end, and then it adds on the landing page name. So in this case, it would be 2016-AT-R+L equals J dash responsive landing page. Totally not user friendly, very annoying, and if a salesperson or anyone comes to you asking like, hey, what's that link to that one article about whatever? If you've employed good naming conventions and you've done this step, it's a lot easier to know the links to all of your content programs. So what I have our team do is they click on the landing page itself, they go to landing page actions here at the top, and then what they could do is go down to URL tools and edit URL settings. And when you click that, now I'm in a sandbox, but what you will see typically in your instance, keep doing that, is a box more like this with the edit URL settings. And you'll see a couple options. You'll be able to change the URL to whatever you want here, and then there's a throwaway or a keep both. If the program doesn't have any members yet, just throw it away. Like, that's just saying that old link, this big long monstrosity, is never going to be used. But if it is already out there and you're just wanting to save, make it easier to get to later, but you don't want to go back and edit any of the emails that link is referenced in or your website or anything like that, you can create a redirect in Marketo simply by clicking this keep both URLs. And that'll ensure that you can change your landing page links without having to change anything else anywhere else. So if they go to either URL, they'll end up at your new one. But for all intents and purposes, your new one is the main link URL to the landing page. And then you simply click save, and then you're done. Now at this point, you're going to actually be editing your tokens. And the guide kind of goes into a more detailed look at what some of the tokens that we use and a little bit of their description. If you download Edward Unthank's guide from Atomos on, actually these landing page templates that we're using, you'll see a much more in-depth guide about how to set these up. And you can add to these, you can take away from them. You don't have to use all of them. But the purpose of this illustration here is to show here's some tokens. These ones are mine. There are many like them, but use what makes sense for you. But at this point, what you want to make sure is that you have everything in Marketo, or you have everything ready to update in Marketo. So when you look at your program level and you go to the My Tokens tab, I have a few in here already, so such as the name, the link to the actual asset, the content image, so what actually shows up on the page, and then a couple other text fields, some social buttons, and that's it. But where you actually see those pull through, so you can edit all of these at any time here, and they will pull through automatically to the design of the landing page without ever having to touch the design of the landing page itself. So you'll never have to open an editor and do anything like that, to be honest. So what that does is, if you're a team like ours and you have someone that is an events coordinator and then someone that is a digital marketer, someone who's a designer, someone who's a writer, you'll start to notice that the writer might be able to have awesome headlines and things like that, but they suck at design. Or the designer makes it look pretty, but there's comma splices and all kinds of horrible atrocities committed on a grammatical scale. So what enforcing this templated structure with a responsive landing page and tokens and all that does is it puts the design on the rails, and then it makes people think around how to, kind of like what Twitter does with a 144 character tweet, how to fit pieces that make sense. So like, I don't want a headline or a super headline that's 8 lines, and I don't want, I'm trying to enforce being concise and impactful. And that's kind of what the tokenized template does for you. But if I were to say, want to change something about any of these, like say in your instance to this subheadline here, if I click save, notice I didn't go to the landing page, didn't edit anything there. All I have to do is refresh the landing page itself, and those changes are going to be live. So developing a scalable content process in your instance, that wasn't there before. I actually don't like that, but it's an easy way to test and kind of see, like, what works, what doesn't. And if I go back and refresh again, whoops, if I go back and refresh again now, it's going to be back to what it was, right? So what the guide does is it kind of shows you everything on this page that I've built here is tokenized. I could change out this background image. I could change out, what these text items are, this landing page text. If you actually change the text on your form, if you put a token in the field label for the button, for the submit button, you can actually change that. And what I would say here is learn more, download now. Those are so lazy, and I cringe when I do them, because I do. I'm not guiltless in this, but anecdotally, without any data to back it up, I've seen generally higher conversion rates when you have something more impactful, like I don't know, Field of Force or whatever. Something that's just very topical, clever. I think a couple landing page providers would back me up when I say that. But the important thing here is, in this visual, is just that whatever your template is, however it ends up looking, all of these elements can be changed out. So the only things that are really consistent is you have a section here, a section here, and a section here. There's content over here, and there's a form over here. But beyond that, you can change out the look and feel of this to where it totally looks like your own. And actually, at Stanley, we use the same landing page template, but it's Stanley branded. So there's no reason why you couldn't take the same template from Atomos and customize it for your needs, or wherever else you get landing page templates. So the next thing, actually I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. The next thing that I like to encourage my team to do is to actually test that the program is working properly. So What I have them do here is make sure that the smart campaign is activated, that's driving the whole campaign. And it's not how we do it here in this demo, but typically what we do in our instance at Stanley is we send them to a thank you landing page and then we email them the content. Reason we do that, and there's going to be a lot of difference of opinion on if that's a good practice or not, but our reasoning is, and what we've seen, is that we generally get a higher quality leads with actual email addresses that they check rather than just getting a burner that goes to nowhere, like spam, 1984 at hotmail.com or whatever. We actually validate their email addresses by asking for one, not giving them the content until they put some skin in the game, basically. So that's what we do. Your mileage may vary, but what I have our team do at this point is actually fill out the form and download. And we'll talk about how in the Smart Campaign this is not going to skew your reporting in a minute. But for the purpose of our illustration here, it's going to send the person directly onto the asset. That's how I've set up the form on the landing page itself. So cool, it takes them directly to the PDF. They can kind of leaf through it and see the same guide you're looking at now. So it's kind of cool. One thing real quick on how to set that up in your tokenized instance is on your landing page itself. This is the one time you're going to have to open the landing page and edit anything on it. And you won't have to do this on future programs. Just the first time you make this scalable, what you want to do is, so you click on the page form, and then you want it to go to an external URL. Whatever form you're using, you want it to go to an external URL, and then this is just your domain, whatever. Again, I'm in a sandbox right now, and then after that, after the .com, that's where you drop your content token. So how that looks in my in the setup of the program actually is like so. So you see, this is where you see part of the URL kind of cast off like that. And the reason that it's like that is because unfortunately, you can't just drop the whole token in that URL field and have it work. It's just how Marketo was built, how it operates. So you can get around it by having your HTTPS, yourdomain.com / and then the rest of the link to the asset after that. The token will pull that through in this case. And there's some situations where, like on your landing page template, you can have it set up to where it will use a full URL, like when it's looking for an image source. But it's just, there's some back-end things with tokens and templates that sometimes you use the full link, sometimes you don't. The too long don't read edition of that is if you want tracking, like tokenized tracking in an email with tokens, you need to do it like I did on the form where it's the partial. Otherwise, if you just put the whole token in, Marketo's not going to be able to track that. So, talking about our thank you emails, and now that I keep going over to the side over here, what you see here is this is actually a sample email that we at Stanley had sent recently. That this is fully, we don't have to edit this email anytime we create a new program. It just lives right here, and it's always going to be approved. But when you look at the design of it, it's totally tokenized. It pulls the same tokenized image that's on the landing page itself. It pulls the same headline or subheadline, the same link to view the asset, or actually a different link. It's a separate token for us. And then we use a short description that when it's in on our tokens, we say it's for the meta tags of the page and that kind of thing. But it also pulls through here, and then we also have some system tokens down here for. Actually, this is just sending them to a landing page that has some social share buttons on it, and this is a system token for forward to a friend, where it opens the landing page in a browser and a little cool script runs that says, "Hey, enter their email address here." So makes the content easy for them to get, and it makes it easy for them to share as well. So that aside, what I'd like to talk about next is kind of the social buttons. And here, this is a Marketo add-on. You may or may not have it, but the key thing is that if you do, these social buttons end up on your landing page like these. And if you're logged in to wherever, I'm going to do Facebook just because I can see it better. You can have tokens pull a description here. The tokens are actually pulling the name here, and then your sales folks can share, like whatever they want to write. Check this out, whatever. Um, that it works similarly for LinkedIn, but you can basically pre-populate all these fields with tokens that make it so what I tell my sales team is if I send you this link and you can't go there and make 4 or 5 mouse clicks to share this on LinkedIn and really cast a wider net with our marketing program, I might think you're too stupid to live. Seriously. Like, I could share this to Facebook right now. It makes it really easy, and really, it's said in fun, but like it makes it really easy for your salespeople to engage with your content. That it's here, like use it, and make an impact. Like how often is the case that they don't share things on LinkedIn or whatever's appropriate for your business because they just don't have anything worth saying? Well, here we're giving them something worth saying at least on a monthly basis. And your cadence might even be faster than that. So really making it easy to share that content. But how you need to make sure these get updated in your template, what I think I have in the guide is actually, maybe it's just in the presentation. But basically how it works in the guide is, when you're at the program level, the template itself, these down here are just text tokens that are embedded in the template, but the way that the social buttons work, you place an embed code in, like say for the LinkedIn, you place this embed code here in the token. And you get that from editing a social button is a lot similar to editing a form, where so if my team were to go in and change anything about this token, the social button, once I built it once, they go up here, they click Edit Draft, little pop-up comes up, similar to a form editor. And then what it does is, there's some options here. I tell my team to ignore this because I've defined the image and all that already, how I want it to look for the landing page. And then I tell them to go to Advanced Options. And then, again, external URL. Now here, unfortunately, tokens just don't work, so you've got to update it every time. This is something that I hope Marketo changes in the future. But because what I'd like to do is just drop a token right here for the landing page link. But what I have my team do is just simply come in and paste their landing page link in here and use some kind of query string, because what we have some other smart lists in each content program that track like how many leads came in from LinkedIn, how many came from this digital ad, how many came from the email or whatever, the website. Just so, again, the same idea of you can't measure you can't report on what you don't measure. We're measuring it. Whether we report on it or not is kind of after the point. Like, we know LinkedIn's going to get more than Facebook, and email is going to be the lion's share of everything. But we want to also validate that what we're doing on our website and what we're doing on social media is working. So I have them add a query string here. So ref equals Facebook. If you're more familiar and comfortable with using like Google Analytics UTM parameters, I fully recommend that. You can actually report on a lot more anonymous activity with those kind of campaigns set up in Google Analytics, especially if you have it synced up with your landing pages in Marketo. But yeah, for our purposes, we just do that, and then we run a smart list that basically says, filled out form on this landing page, and query string, an additional constraint for query string contains, and then just Facebook or LinkedIn or email or website or whatever it is. It would work the same for UTM parameters. It's just looking for any unique sequence of characters in the URL. So once they've changed this URL here, I just have them click Finish and Approve and Close. And then what they have to do, if you have Social Boost, you click on Social Button Actions. Let me do that again. I did that a little fast. You go down to Social Button Actions and then Embed Code. This top header code should be somewhere in the header code of your landing page template, but this body code is actually what you need to copy. So just highlight it, hit Command-C if you're on Mac or Control-C if you're on Windows. Hit Close. Go up here to the actual tokens and select all, delete, copy paste. So that makes sure that the new button here is actually pulling through, and it was right before, but it makes sure it's going to show the new landing page image. It's going to link to this landing page versus the last one, the last program you cloned, because that can happen if you use these social buttons and those don't get updated. It might look like it's sharing the game of clones, a scalable content process, but if they actually click on the link from LinkedIn or wherever, they might end up at the last asset that they cloned. Okay, so social buttons aside, I'm just going to move this because I keep doing that. Social buttons aside, what we have is next is reviewing the Smart Campaign. So this part is actually, you kind of already did it if you activated it, and it should be working. The one thing that's important to note is when you clone a Smart Campaign individually into a new program, it doesn't change all the references to the program. So if I were to just clone a Smart Campaign from this program by itself into this program, it would still be referencing this first program. However, if you clone the whole program, what you'll notice is that all the references to what program is in the flow are going to be to this new one. So I said program a lot there, so that was probably pretty confusing, but long story short, when you clone a program, make sure that the Smart Campaign it's already set up and included in it, and you won't have anything to worry about. Email me with questions. That was pretty confusing. Okay, so the first thing, looking at the Smart List, ours is very simple, and yours may be different, but we basically trigger on, okay, they filled out the form, and this lives in our design studio, and then, but we have to, because it lives in our design studio, we have to add a constraint for what web page it was filled out on. So we make sure that that's our actual landing page. And the one reason I would recommend setting up your form in your design studio is if you ever decide, like we did recently, we were doing a progressive form fill that was requiring 2 fields, but then we decided, well, we really need like 4 fields on the first time someone fills out a form. So rather than editing that form 100+ times in all of our various content programs, if that form actually lived at the program level, it would have been a nightmare. But because it was in a design studio, we edited it once, and it trickled down through all of our content programs. So strongly, strongly, strongly encourage you to keep your forms in the design studio. The second filter you see here is essentially just eliminating whatever your domain is. So when you're testing this landing page, you certainly don't want to skew your numbers in your reporting and show members of your company as successful members of the program, engaged, success, whatever. But we just say email address not contains your domain, whatever it is. Ours is sbdinc.com, and then that makes sure that any of your salespeople, any of your internal marketing folks, anybody inside your company will not advance to the flow step. And it's important to make sure this says not contains and not contains. It says not contains and it does not say contains, because if this said email address contains, you would only be looking for members of your company. So the next thing to look at, this all looks good, and it's referencing, like I was talking about before, it's referencing the right landing page because we cloned this Smart Campaign was included when we cloned the program. Look at the flow now. So ours is very simple. We have, like I said, we send them that thank you email that looks like the one I showed you a little earlier. We set an interesting moment, and again, you can use tokens here, so why not? I think ours in our actual instance is a little better stated, just so it reads more like a human would say something to you than just downloaded and then something disjointed, like downloaded Game of Clones. Like, be a little more descriptive for your Salesforce is all I'm saying. We changed program status to engage success, and then if their acquisition program was empty, we obviously set that, and that's a very important thing to make sure you're doing across all your programs in Marketo. What you don't see here is scoring. So I recently did a Nation talk where I talked about how you can set up a scalable scoring process throughout your entire instance, to where, again, similar to the form comment a second ago, you don't, if you can edit something somewhere one time, that's always going to be better than editing the same thing multiple times throughout your instance. So I'll link to that video in the area right here. But essentially, give that a look, see if it makes sense for you. I think it's a pretty standard best practice when Marketo rolls out new customers, so you may even have something similar built out. But if you don't, definitely consider doing that. Okay. So creating the email, if you haven't already. I won't spend a huge amount of time on this, but say wherever your emails live in your engagement program. Let's take a look at how this one looks. Okay, so like I said, cool CTAs, right? They convert. Landing page template is whatever it is. I mean, yours are going to look different. You might want a different subject line than that, but whatever. So basically here, the cool thing is you make your email, however you build it out. It's completely inconsequential to the content process, but make sure, regular things like make sure you go through your standard review process, rounds of approval, whatever you got to do. So the email looks great. I'm going to go ahead and approve it in the stream and make sure it gets scheduled for a cast. So first thing is obviously make sure that the draft is approved. And then what you want to do is click on your engagement program itself. And then, am I not refreshing? Go up to the Streams tab here. And then what you'll see here is that there's, you'll have the opportunity to just drag the email in. Now it's already in here, so that's why it's saying I can't duplicate it. If it's not activated, if it wasn't in here, you would drag it in and it would look like this. It would be deactivated. Now I want to make sure that it gets activated, because if I don't activate it, it's not going to go on the next cast. So I want to make sure I right-click and select Activate. And then you can define the cadence by clicking on this link up here, and then this is set out to go weekly, every Tuesday at 10. You could set that to be monthly or bi-monthly, whatever, however works for you. But how Marketo engagement programs generally work, this is super high level, is Marketo is always going to look at the email that's on top and ask, has this lead received this email? If yes, then it moves to the next one. If no, then it sends this one. And if it will keep moving down however many emails are in the stream until it finds one that the lead has not received. And then it sends them that one. And in the event that they've received everything in the stream, they're just exhausted. They're not going to get anything new that week or month or whatever. But that's basically all you need to know for this part about engagement programs. If you own Marketo for your instance, you probably want to familiar yourself a little more with just the where to and why fors of how engagement programs work in Marketo. You'll figure all that out when you get certified. So we built. I covered 2 steps there in about a minute. So next, 3 steps. Wow, I'm on fire. So the next thing that we do at Stanley is, we've already built out the landing page. We made sure that's all functioning properly. We've already set up the email. That is the ball impacting the bat. Whoops. What we really need to do next is make sure that there's follow-through involved. So we clone this email and then make it available to our Salesforce to use in Marketo Sales Insight in Salesforce. So if you have that, what you do is you simply go back to your email itself, and you would clone this into whatever program that you share with your sales team in Salesforce. But what you want to do is make sure, what we do is we make sure that the email appears to come from our lead owner. And again, your tokens might be different, but you can probably figure out a way to do this in Marketo with your whatever your instance of CRM does. But then, we make sure that it looks like it comes from them as a person, like Craig Orenstein or whoever. And then the from email is actually their email address. and then any replies back will come directly to them. Once we've changed those things, all we simply do is click Edit Settings and make sure this box here is checked for Publish to Marketo Sales Insight. And that's it. So the next thing we do is we obviously go down and make sure that, again, you can't take, just like you can't report on things you don't measure, you can't take credit for things that you don't beat your chest about a little bit. So what we have in the guide here is a couple basic email templates that I've written that you can copy and customize to your heart's content that just talk about our basic process. If we thank a salesperson for helping us create content, we thank them with a little tchotchke, because Stanley Security is related to Stanley Black & Decker, is related to DeWalt, is related to Stanley Tools. So we have this cute little promotion around, hey, you're helping us build a digital toolbox, we'll help you build your literal one. But then we also send a big communication out to the entire sales force saying, hey, there's new content, it's available, it's had this many downloads, you can find it here. What we've done recently is I've also recorded video guides like this one that really take our salespeople through how do you send an email, how do you add someone to a watch list, what do you do with a Marketo tab, what does best bets mean, and just providing training, like refresher training that's on demand. The next thing, and I won't focus too much here because your landing page, your website's going to be unique, but I'll show you a Stanley site real quick. What we do here that's kind of important is making sure that you've built out ways that content is accessible through your site, and that's going to help SEO in a minor way, just that it's going to see new content being added to your site on a regular basis. So we make sure that there's a basic process for our team to follow where they make sure that all the content gets added to our site, and then we create a page, and then it issues a redirect actually to the Marketo landing page. So if I were to click Read Article or click on the image itself over here, what you'll actually see is that it takes someone to our actual Marketo landing page with real honest to God content on it. So whatever instance of whatever CMS you use, these steps here kind of go through how we do it, but because there's so many different platforms out there, it almost doesn't even make sense to show you now what we do. But if you have questions on WordPress, I can definitely explain on those. And the last two things that I want to touch on is, obviously keep a social media calendar. Make sure that your content ends up on it and is regularly getting shared. But the bigger thing is actually something we do at Stanley, and let me find this link, is we keep a master content log. And on this log, we use it kind of like a checklist where there's the stream that something appeared in, the title, the description, what type of content it was. But then the rest of it is kind of like a checklist, like, hey, was this posted to the website? Was it on social media? Did we send an alert to sales already? Did a thank you email get sent to anyone that contributed, or is that applicable? Date that it was originally sent, and then any recommendation for other streams that this content might be useful in. So it happens a lot that we might do something in the video stream for video security solutions that might make sense for intrusion, because it is in our business. I mean, those two are kind of related and interlocking a little bit. So if it ever happens, and we have several people managing different streams, so what this content log does for us is helps us know if we're starting to run dry on content, we're having leads that are exhausted in their streams, is there anything we can pull from another vertical? And then if our team members have filled out anything there, then we know that there might be something appropriate for us to pull. And then the final thing is, we have the Documents tab on Salesforce that we make sure that our salespeople can access and download. So download content through there. So we make it easy for our salespeople, whether they browse through our website or try to find it through Salesforce, that they can get their hands on all of our valuable Marketo content. Last thing I want to touch on here is from a management perspective, something that I like to do is every team member on our team has their own kind of hit list here, where we talk about what did they do last month, what are they doing this month, and what are they going to do next month for their streams. And what this helps you do as a manager is foresee any gaps in content development, so that and with at least a month or two heads up, that you can kind of know, okay, we're going to need some help here, and we're going to need to, prioritize getting this content done, or just knowing that, like, yeah, there's like 50 things in that stream already. It's not a big deal. But from a management standpoint, this just lets you kind of keep tabs on each individual member of your team, kind of know what they're working on from a content perspective, and really go from there. So that's basically it for the Game of Clones, the entire scalable content process, soup to nuts. So once again, I've been Joe Wrights. You can reach out to me on Twitter or via my blog at Mudtime Marketing. And thanks again for checking out my session, and I hope this training is useful for you.